Oh, introduction. Bad Republican. Megan starts off by telling us that she was born in 1984. It's like a third grade book report. Um, you know, my name is Megan and I was born in 1984. Um, anyway, she goes on to say that, her teen years were defined by a global terrorist event. Her adulthood was the beginning of the recession. And then, parenthood began with a global pandemic. Victim, victim, victim. Like these things all only happen to her. And, she's had the worst life. It's been the most problematic. It's been the most difficult. Um, it's such a, I want to say millennial way to complain, but the truth is every generation thinks they've got it more difficult than the one before. And every generation thinks that the one after them has it easier than they did. The truth is somewhere in the middle, I'm sure. That there's different eras and there's different problems with different generations, and there's different advantages for different generations. Um, I think it's funny that there was a thing going around during lockdowns that Generation X was specifically suited for um, for that behavior, for the quarantines and lockdowns, because we were the ones who grew up with a little more free time than the generation before us, but a lot less oversight. We had two parents working, the whole latchkey kid generation. We were forced to entertain ourselves without getting into trouble, and we did a pretty good job, I think. And weren't allowed to complain. Just wasn't part of the deal. You just rolled with the punches. This is what it is. This is what your situation is. So get to it. Anyway, I digress. So Megan goes on to say that she returned to work. She had her daughter Liberty, and it was the best thing that ever happened to her. And she had a really hard pregnancy, and she was afraid that she wasn't going to be a good mother, and that all washed away as soon as she held her. Blah 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 blah. Okay, but having a baby sent her into panic. She was afraid of terrorist attacks. She was complete postpartum anxiety, and she was medicated for it. Okay. Um, it happens. I understand postpartum emotions are difficult. They are something I will never have to go through. Um, so I can understand having this fragile little baby and then being scared about it. But she said she was medicated. Um, uh, anyway, she goes back to work, and on day 2, Joy says she didn't miss her. She says every other woman who's come back from maternity leave on The View has been welcomed with fanfare, and she didn't get any of that. Well, it's hard to do fanfare when you're doing it remotely. They can't really throw you a shower. And you came out swinging. You hijacked the first show with your own agenda. And then when you tried to interject and take some snipes at Joy, and she sniped back, you had a cow. So she feels victimized by her return to work. Immediately when Joy gave her that smackdown, she says the internet went crazy, and she had internet trolls making fun of her. And so the only thing she could do, she said, was just keep going. She also then says it doesn't help that the terrorist attack on the Capitol on January 6th happened on her first week back. Again, happened to her. Wasn't a constitutional crisis and a moment of like American peril. It was, what bad timing that this happened on my first week back. after maternity leave, and I'm feeling fragile. So she says that, ultimately the job of being a conservative on a liberal show is to be the villain. That's not the job at all. And if you've seen anyone on those programs that has a different point of view, it can be discussed, it can be debated, but people don't snap, clam up, and cry. It's a discussion. So this is very clear. This book is going to get like, I'm the victim, everything's bad happened to me. So she says that the only way to survive that is to play that part of the villain, and that's what she's going to lean into. So you're just creating a bigger problem for yourself by being more of a bitch, which is why people didn't like you on The View and why you didn't feel part of the team. So my dog's barking. So that's fun. She also talked about being when her father was running for president, that his team didn't like her very much, and that's sort of where the bad Republican thing started, but it really came from her agent, because, and again, she flat out says it, she's not a Trumper, and she lays out all the things that she believes in, which if you actually listen to the things that she talks about, I don't think she believes in all those things that she's saying. Doesn't matter. It's not her convictions and it's not her politics that make her a terrible person. It's her attitude, it's her behavior, and how she treats other people. So, and the fact that she goes on television and lies, spreads misinformation, and is now just a puppet for her husband, a plagiarist and a liar himself.